Hey everybody, welcome to our Tech Academy Tech Talk. My name is Forrest. I'm with the job placement team here. I've got Rick with me as well. We're joined today by Kent Gray. He's a graduate. He graduated in 2016, and ever since he's been in data science, data analytics, different aspects of data structure. And he's going to talk to us today about his career in data science, a little bit about what that career looks like, what it takes to field a career in data science, and going to answer some questions at the end as well. So without any further ado, Kent, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Hey, guys and girls. Good to see y'all. And thanks for letting me present. Again, my name is Kent, and I'll switch over to a presentation I've set up for you guys. 1 second. All right, can you all see the screen okay? I know it's still loading.
Yeah, we can see it is loading, but it looks good.
Okay, great. So Forrest, thanks for having me, and Rick. Rick, I remember working with you a little bit back in the day, and it was awesome. Tech Academy is awesome. It's a lot of good memories. Forrest, thanks for setting up this design. It looks great, man. I need to keep this as a logo, so thank you. So here we are. Who am I? So why am I giving you this talk? And how am I able to even talk to you guys? A little bit of who I am. I'm a service data scientist. Basically, I work in the service department at Kubota Tractor Corporation. So yes, I work with tractors a lot and construction equipment, which is typical. I'm located in Dallas, Texas. A little bit of a professional experience. I've got 4 years of data analytics and BI analytics, 4 years of software development, project management, a little bit of overlap in both of those roles. My favorite language is Python, and my favorite hobby is hiking. And there's a picture of me with my oldest daughter hiking in New Mexico a year ago. So here's how I'll do. We already did the intro. I'll go a little bit of a motivation background, some of my challenges, and then hopefully get to some successful tips and tricks for you guys and girls. So what is my goal in this? My goal is to help you, to encourage all of you to pursue your dream job, whether it's in software or data science. Believe me, if I can do it, so can you. So I would say the primary thing that you'll need, and I think if you're in this meeting, you've already done this, is to focus on why you're doing what you're doing. And Viktor Frankl, he was a Holocaust survivor, said, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." And I've really lived that out. It's helped me get through a whole lot of challenges, because once you leave the Tech Academy, you still have, I'm sure you know, a lot of mountains to climb. It's not always easy. So I'll go through some of that. But the more you can refine this, why you're doing what you're doing, I guarantee you're going to have a lot more success in what you're going after. So here's my motivation. I have a wife, beautiful wife, and 3 kids. It's Sarah, Katie, Caroline, and Noah. Noah was just born a few months ago, and so he's, I think, 5 months now. Yeah. So let me go through the background before the Tech Academy. This is the true story, facts. Got some examples for you. I didn't have much of a direction or career path prior to starting my tech career. I had a bad GPA, 2.18. I constantly switched roles. I literally counted them. I had at least 20 different jobs. I listed a few of them for you as an example. You can see there's no clarity, no direction, no focus. It's kind of all over the board. And then post Tech Academy, I was able to focus in on one singular career path. And that was 4 jobs with 2 different companies. And that's all software, data analysis, all within that focus range. I also completed an MBA, and then I got a few certifications. And so again, it came to me really realizing, what am I going after? My last job was a school teacher, and I hated what I was doing, and I knew I needed a change. And that's when I jumped into the Tech Academy way back the end of 2015, and was out there for a few months. And that's where I really just dove in deep. So here are a few roadblocks I faced. After completing the Tech Academy in January of 2016, I couldn't find a job. I interviewed and interviewed, and I still couldn't find and land any type of work. I even had one company I interviewed with 3 or 4 weeks. It was a consulting company, and went through multiple rounds of interviews. Finally got to the CEO, and he said I couldn't get the job because my GPA in undergrad was 2.18, wasn't good enough to get the job. I wanted to shoot myself because I just spent 3 or 4 weeks trying to get this job. I don't know why they couldn't have said that at the beginning. So I struggled. It took me about 5 months to finally get a job after the Tech Academy, maybe a little more, closer to 6. And so that first job was a big pay drop for me. I was coming out as being a school teacher and basically half the income. It was tough financially for us. My wife was still working, which was good. And so my first job was a BI analyst. And basically in that role, I did a lot of ETL, so extract, transform, and load. Did a lot of data cleansing, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. I don't know if I'm talking to a mixed crowd of software development and data science, but I'm sure you're all familiar with those terms. It wasn't an exciting job, but it was my foot inside the career and that I wanted to be in. And it was an 8-month contract. And I was very glad to be out of that role once I finished. But it was a great exposure. And so I was thankful to get that. So the second round of roadblocks, I landed a job at my current company of 2017, was hired on as data analyst. And basically I was required to use old, antiquated software. I mean, Access, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Microsoft Access. Not super antiquated. It's just that the language behind it, VBA, is no longer going to be supported by Microsoft. So there's not a huge future with that development set. But regardless, I had to make the best of that. I built the engineering department's database for all of their products, design, everything they had to submit for legal requirements with about a user group of about 300 people. It was a tough project, and eventually we put it on a Postgres SQL server on the back end, and I enjoyed that type of work. But again, my struggle was that I was working in antiquated software, thinking, okay, this is not going to help my career. Why am I still working with this language? So in October of 2018, I was able to get a job in the same company, different role, as a project manager. That was my title, but I really did all the software for the department. And I just finished working in that role. Really just switched about 2 weeks ago into my current role. And so this job pulled me more and more away from what I loved. And what I loved was data. I love data science. I love databases, data analytics, and I love software. I did some of the software for them, but the more I worked in that role, the more they threw me into projects where I was overseeing cross-functional work and projects, and it kept pulling me further and further away. So finally, I was able to get into this role that I currently have for a couple of reasons, but one of them was a community college course I took on Python automation. So, sorry. How are we doing? Everyone's still good? Has anyone fallen asleep yet?
No, you're doing great, Kent.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm going to drink something real quick. So one of the classes I took was at a local Dallas County community college. It's called Python Automation. And I had been doing Access and VBA and some PostgreSQL, and that's great. I love that. But it wasn't what I wanted. And my current boss, he worked in service, and they had a couple projects pop up, and I just kind of poked my little nosy head in and said, hey, maybe I can help you with this. And I was able to build them out 2 APIs really quick. It was, and I'm telling you, this was nothing complex, very simple. It sounds very technical, but I guarantee you all of you could have done this. It was very easy. And I built out, and it really impressed the director of this department. He said, wow, you built that real quick. And it's because I took this class at a community college that I knew how to build these APIs. And I can't even say I built the whole API. It was just a wrapper that referenced an API. So it wasn't even a big thing. It was just very small tool set. But because I was at the right place at the right time, and I just started diving in, putting my nose in other departments to see what was going on, I was able to give my current director, my current boss, a good impression of my skill set. So really right place, right time. And so about a year ago, I talked to that director and said, hey, you're needing more analytics for your department. If you ever get a data science position, I want to be that person, and I want to manage that team eventually. He said, okay, great. So that's what eventually led, that was a year ago. It took the company about a year to finally create the position. COVID caused delays, but I finally was able to just now get that role. And that helped me a lot. Additionally, I've done a lot of studying of data science. I've done, when I went to the Tech Academy, data science wasn't an option. And so now it is. And so that's awesome. I wish it had been an option, but I did software there, and which is great. You can get a great foundation on JavaScript. I didn't really do the Python course there. I did C# and SQL, HTML, a bunch of other classes. And that really was great because it gave me the foundation and the desire to keep learning. So here's a few tips and tricks that I would really recommend, things that I wish I had done better, is really utilize the Tech Academy as much as possible. I left too soon. I went back right into trying to find jobs, and it took me 5 to 6 months. If I had just stayed and kept working through some of the program and kept, hey, there's another course available, I'm going to take that course, I think that would have really helped me. Additionally, with the, what is it called? I forget, the Tech Academy, when you intern, you do the projects in the community. Well, I'm blanking on it.
Live projects?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the 2-week live projects for each course.
But it's under, is it Prosper Consult, or what is it under? It's like a different name, right?
Yeah, it's done under Prosper IT Academy, or
yeah.
IT, yeah.
Yeah, that, I wish I had done more. I did 2 projects, but I wish I'd done more projects, because that really builds your portfolio. It shows companies that you know what you're doing, and that you've actually built something or implemented something or helped in some way. And I kind of I left that alone because I was trying to find jobs. So I would encourage everyone, you get the opportunity, you've got some downtime, jump on some projects, take some more courses, and that'll really help you get, if you don't have that confidence, like I didn't have that confidence, it'll really help you. The second thing is take risks. That's what I did. I asked that boss, said, hey, my current boss, the director, hey, if this opens up, if you get this opportunity, give me that shot. I want to be that guy. I went into his office, I took a little risk, and he said, okay, great. And then before that, I actually asked my other boss for another position, the project management position, and the company had to recreate this. I did it because financially we needed it for our family, and we were the only source of income. And they both said yes. And so if I had just stayed the course that the company had defined for me, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. Also, if I didn't just go out of my way to go to a few meetups and take some more classes at the community college, I went outside my comfort zone because I knew I had to keep learning, which leads to the next point. Community college is amazing. I love community college. So post Tech Academy, you can keep taking, I know they have great options as well, but the community college is another option too. And so keep learning, and you'll be surprised at what you can learn at just a community college. I learned so much tech, like Python, JavaScript, HTML. I already learned some of it, but it goes further into it. I learned Java. Highly recommend that. This is my tip and trip. And then also continue to focus on your why. You're going to hit hurdles. You're going to hit roadblocks. You might have to pivot, shift, or do something different. But continue to focus on your why. That's going to help you get through all those hurdles and those obstacles and delays. And believe me, I was in that last role for over a year longer than I wanted to be in that role. But because I knew this other position was opening up, I hung in there, and I'm here at this point. And there's a million different ways to do it. You can say, yeah, you should have moved on, Kent, or whatever works best for you. But I would say in general, I've never heard or read any advice that goes against this. If you continue to focus on what motivates you, you're going to do really, really well in getting through just about anything. That's pretty much it. I do have, just last one for Q&A. And I can switch back over to this.
Yeah, so we can open it up to questions from the audience now. I think we actually had a couple questions in the chat already.
Okay.
Sure. We have one in there. If you explain the difference, can you explain what is data science versus machine learning / AI?
Well, so yeah, I don't know if you guys seen the little Venn diagrams, but I think ML is encapsulated within data science. And so I don't know all the technicalities, but just so you know, it's so funny because I'm in my current role and they're like, oh, this is AI, this is AI. AI at the bottom of all of it is just software development, right? That's either you networked or you're pulling from libraries. So it's nothing that complex. But as far as machine learning, it's a tool set within data science, to my knowledge, and I don't even have that clearly defined. And there's so many. I mean, you could do a quick search on it and find it, but like it's. And that's the other thing is you'll see so much education online on different things to learn like that, and a lot of times it doesn't really matter because in your career you don't really need to know the difference. You just need to be able to give your boss or your department a solution, and whether it's in data science or ML or AI, it's like here you go. That's all they care about. And so, sorry, I don't mean to degrade that question in any way, but I'm just saying like it. I don't know the answer, and I'm not an expert either, but yeah, you'll see once you get in the workforce, it's just, hey, give them a solution, and they'll love you.
That's good advice. That's good advice. I was curious what kind of resources you use. You didn't study data science in the Tech Academy. What kind of resources did you use outside of the Tech Academy for your data science studies? Like what really drove you to want to do data science? So
one of the persons I follow, I would think you guys have heard of, is Kyle McCoo. Have you heard of him? Kyle McCoo. I'll type him in. He's got a data science kind of overview, and he actually gives it like a whole bunch of books to read, which I read a bunch of books last year on it, and get just a lot of some course material, but he mostly just points to stuff that's already on the web. He doesn't actually create any course material. He's been a really good source for me. I get basic books. Let's see if I have any on me. Like even this one, like a basic book. I don't know if you can see that, but Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. And there's even Python for Dummies. I get the beginner dummy stuff. For me, I read that because it's great, and eventually you get into more advanced stuff like algorithmic marketing. I can't even say the word, but yeah, just basically, I really recommend is just to start building little things. The more you build, the better. And I know you hear this, and I'm sorry, I'm probably beating an old dead horse, but try to build as much as you can, and then try to see how that helps you or helps other people, and then make improvements on it. So yeah, sorry, that's a long answer.
No, that's great. That's valuable. Who else has questions out there for Kent?
Hey, Ken, I have a question. This is Tracy from Washington. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about your story about y'all and my daughter's first day of English class in Oklahoma. The teacher told her, all y'all's plural and y'all's singular. It's the first thing you need to know. Doesn't sound like that's true in Texas, though. So what types of data are you looking at? And the questions that you solve, are those brought to you by management, or is it from different departments? How does that work?
So the first question, what kind of data am I looking at? Currently in my current role, it's a very, very large data set. So I work in warranty. So we have a lot of warranty claims. So think about, we got, millions of tractors that are out there, and you got millions of parts, and it's just Farmer John's tractor broke down. He needs a new part. He puts in a warranty claim, and we get these large data sets. And so that's what I'm looking at, those volumes. And that primarily is fed through Salesforce, is the software we use. We also have Oracle service. And so I'm really handy with SQL. So if I can take it and grab it and move it in SQL, that's great. So I really recommend NoSQL like the back of your hand, and you can take on almost, any situation or scenario, because you know the data. In every GUI you look at, every interface you look at, it's going to have these words. Like in Salesforce, it says you type in something within the month, and you know exactly what that means in SQL, and so you can translate. Say, okay, I need to do this, and you can do stuff that, like, I could do stuff that my coworkers can't, because I know SQL really well, and so I'm an asset to the team. And then as far as getting a project assigned to me, I get them from multiple streams. Sometimes, honestly, I'll even just jump on a project just because I can see. That's what really will help you guys too, and girls. Sorry, I keep saying guys. Is jump into projects that that you can help someone really quick, and may not even be a huge detriment to you. You can knock it out in a few hours, and then say, hey, here you go. And that's what landed my current role. Is like, oh, I know I can help. There's a girl named Sarah. She needed help. I was like, hey, I know I can help you on that. And I built that API. Didn't take me long. And so, but mostly I get my projects from my boss, my director, and I kind of have two bosses. But that's where my primary, hey, we've got this project. Can you jump on it? So sorry, long answer there.
No, that was good, Kent. Can you talk a little more about what it was like after your 8-month contract, finding work after that, and how that went?
Okay, so my first gig was 8-month. Sorry, I probably didn't explain that very well. It was a BI analyst role. I went straight into my current company because of LinkedIn, and so that's one thing I was going to actually recommend. Take the time. I know some of you have, but take a little extra time. And I don't know if you saw my profile pic that Forrest did a good job of editing and putting up there. I took some time. I took that from my phone, that picture, and I kind of did some editing on it. And so I take time on LinkedIn to just kind of keep sprucing. I throw in some key buzzwords or some projects I just did. That's what landed my current role, because HR at my current company saw my LinkedIn profile and said, hey, you'd be a good fit for this role. Would you apply? And that's how I got it. And so I actually landed the job before I ended my 8-month contract, and just came straight into this company.
Cool.
So yeah,
go ahead. I was just going to say that's a good story, Kent.
Yeah, can't really stress enough how important LinkedIn is in this, especially like how you present yourself on LinkedIn. Like, that's pretty vital in landing a job. That's an important lesson there.
Yeah, and I have to hire. I help with hiring too, and I look at, and I scout out people, and I look at their profiles, and if I tell they've taken a little time to make that professional touch of like, okay, that says a lot about them. They pay attention to detail. They know that they can deliver good value, Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense. It kind of represents the person. If the person knows that they're valuable, they'll spend just a few minutes. It doesn't have to be amazing, but just, hey, you know what? This person knows what they're doing, and they're willing to present themselves. Because it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard getting over that initial hurdle, getting that first job. You'll get a lot of no's, unless you're just really lucky or smart or have good connections, like me. And I had a lot of no's, a lot of no's. I went through so many interviews, and no, 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 or just no response.
Mhm.
And I'm not trying to discourage you, but it just, I'm telling you, like, it'll work out though. Just keep on, and it's going to work out. Trust me.
Kent, I noticed on your LinkedIn, you showed us that long list of jobs that you had before data science, and obviously you didn't include most of those in your LinkedIn. What advice would you give for somebody moving into a tech field who's never worked in tech on what to include in your LinkedIn in terms of your work history?
Yeah, that's a good question. So honestly, take advantage of Prosper IT Consulting, whatever the linked the Tech Academy. That's where I did. I put a lot of my project work or my coursework on my profile, because again, they're looking for buzzwords. Here's HR doesn't know the technical stuff, right? At least in our company, this is how it works. And they'll sit there and they'll do a quick search based off these buzzwords. And if you got those buzzwords in there, like, I don't know, SQL, data analytics, data modeling, well, that's what catches their attention. And so I also had some experience way back in oil and gas. I did some analytics in Excel, just Excel, basic Excel. But I said, hey, I did data analysis. I did reporting. I did, throw those buzzwords, whatever you did way back. Even you think it's so simple, but you can really expound on that experience and just kind of put that in there one way or another.
I think that's great. Yeah, I think I'm just looking at your past careers on LinkedIn right now, and the way you worded things really, made them look probably more advanced than they might have been, or maybe they were. But
Right.
Data analysts, data analysis, project management, stuff like that, and yeah, that's great. Let's see.
Definitely say presentation is definitely important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As somebody who's an higher in the management scale, when you're looking at a possible employee's LinkedIn picture, how likely are you to continue, interest in that employee based on like the quality of their picture? You said you took yours with your phone, but it looks really nice. Like, how much does that play into the decision factor?
Yeah. So, and everyone's different. And I would say, like, I'm not just going to count someone out based off their picture. It's kind of a factor of many things. But if I see that, hey, they put the work into the profile in some way or another. It doesn't have to be the picture, but maybe they did something to the background, or maybe you can adjust the background now, and you can do like the text. You can do certain things with it. It's kind of just all about presentation, right? And if they've taken the time, like, okay, if it's two different candidates, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be my first initial interview, I literally will get roles. I had one where I get over 100 candidates coming in, over at least 200 candidates. Like, hey, I've got these resumes, and I've got to sort through that. And so, what's going to pop out at me? And think about it. If you were in that situation, think of you being in the hiring manager. What would pop out at you? It would be the ones that look the most professional, the most put together, at least initially, right? And that's what gets over that initial hurdle.
Absolutely. Would you say that you go through that stack of 100, 200 candidates and look at all their LinkedIn accounts? Do you check out every single person's how deep of a dive do you go into that person? Or do you start with the resume, and if they have at least some qualifications, then you move on to the next step?
What I typically do, I actually go to career fairs at the colleges. And so when I have candidates come up to me, and they're sometimes not even like college students, they can be out of college, but it's when I meet them, and that's sort of kind of sets my priority of like, okay, I could see some potential there. And then I'll make marks on the resumes. And then if it's an online submission, I'll have to look through and, again, looking for keywords. Can this person handle that technology? Can this person handle this situation? But I don't always look at, I looked at LinkedIn profiles when I'm starting to narrow down the candidates. I probably start with the resume first, because I'm not an HR. So if HR will do that, they go with LinkedIn, but I start with the opposite, where I get the resume and then, or the application, and go backwards from there.
Nice. Yeah, that would be a little overwhelming to look at 200 LinkedIns trying to pick out it'd be a lot to do there. Michelle asked in the chat, how much math do you use in data science as a data scientist?
So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really bad at math. I'm not good. And so that's why I'm telling you, if I can do it, you can do it. My GPA, again, was like a 2.18. I was originally an engineer, but I know software, and I can deliver value to my company. And so as far as math, it's statistical analysis. I have a coworker actually named Sarah, the girl I helped before, and she knows stats. She's a chemical engineer major, and she knows it really well. And so she helps me through the stats. But yeah, it's honestly, that's my weak point. So I don't know if that answers the question.
It's weakness, but it hasn't stopped you from getting to where you are, because you know what you know, and yeah, that's great.
So, but yeah, it's good to know the math, obviously, right? It's good. I'm not the full well-rounded candidate yet, and so definitely recommend learning that. If you already know it, then it's a feather in your cap. So
yeah, I was just asking because data scientist, it sounds like, I know they use statistics and deal with a lot of data, so I assume that there's a lot of math involved, and I do like math, so
yeah,
that's why I was asking.
So I'm just jumping in this role, and the more I get into it, the more I'm going to get into more of the ML models and all the other analytics. But initially, right now, because I know SQL so well, I can give them results like, hey, I need to know this report, and I can pull this data together, and I build APIs to connect the different data, applications. And so that's what they need right now. And so I can give them that, but I'm going to have to learn that. So maybe you could help me, Michelle. Maybe you got some advice. I need to learn. I struggle with math, so.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think an important key is just kind of the logic and how you think about things with setting up your programs, that kind of thing, Kent.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And also in my previous role, my previous company, I did ETL, and I don't know why they had it set up like this. I had a boss and I had a coworker, and they would spend hours cleaning this data, and they had thousands of rows of data, and they would take this data and they would go line by line and look at this stuff. And I learned, okay, well, I could do this all day, or I could build a data model. Basically, I merged the two data sets, right? I figured out how, threw in a few keywords to filter the data. And I literally did 8 hours of labor within like 2 minutes, and I was done. And so I could do other stuff, but I didn't tell my boss. I was like, hey, I'm done, I actually did show my boss this data model, but it freaked her out. And she said, don't do it. I think it was honestly job security for her and for the other coworker, but that's why I wanted to get out of that job. I was like, I can't do this. This is mind numbing. But yes, it's very critical to, if you know the data and how it works, you can save yourself so much time. And then when you structure a software application, it's hard to know. I can explain it to you now, but until you start building, like you see, okay, that's not working, you're not going to see the results. So, sorry, 1 second. Can I time out my little boy? I don't know if y'all can hear him crying. I'll get him real quick. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
No problem, Kent.
Hey, this is Tracy again. This is my first experience with Tech Academy. While Kent's gone, can you tell us a little bit about it?
The Tech Academy, we're a software developer bootcamp based in Portland, Oregon. And we have a 22-week program. The 22-week program covers pretty much every course that we have. And then we have smaller programs. We've got a C# that's 15 weeks, and a Python program that's 15, and a data science program that's 16 weeks. So you can learncodinganywhere.com is our website, and it's got really good information on all the programs and courses that we have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everything okay, Kent?
Yes, sorry for the interruption there. That's my motivation. That's my why. So
That's your why. That was going to be my next question. What was you brought up that, like, continue to focus on your why, and that's a very interesting point. And for you, that's family. It sounds like you're supporting your life and your family and all that. I love that.
for sure, yeah, that's helping push through a lot of obstacles. And so, encourage everyone, try to find that, whatever that is for you.
Kent, this is true. I do. I have one more question. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I feel like I've maxed out my Excel skills. So, I mean, there's stuff I could do in VBA, but then where do I go next? Is it SQL or is it Tableau, or what should I try and learn?
Good question. Two good things I would say that would bridge from that would be Power BI and SQL. Definitely know SQL. SQL is actually a pretty simple language to learn, especially if you've got a little bit of understanding of data. And I would say the number one thing, honestly, if you know SQL, you can jump into any application, just about. I mean, when it comes to data, I'm not talking about like front end programming. I'm talking about like, okay, you got a data set and you got to deliver some report, or you got to create some input, output. SQL, you know the logic behind the application, because every application is just a GUI, right, on top of data when you're doing data sets, right? And so what's going on, and then you can just work through any logic. I can jump into any new application and figure it out pretty quick now because I know what's going on behind the scenes. And so, yeah, SQL would definitely be good. And it's hard to learn SQL without building applications. And so I know this is going to sound bad or archaic maybe, but Microsoft Access, it's not that expensive. And I know it's not going to further your career with knowing that specific technology, but you get the exposure of a front end and a back end all encapsulated within one application. So you can see, I can build a form that populates a report, and that's how am I doing that with SQL, and so that's basically, it's kind of simple. But yeah, I'm sorry, did that help a little bit? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, can you kind of touch on how important Python is along with SQL?
Yeah, Python is great because Python has very robust libraries, which with Python, you can do visualizations. Obviously, you've got all these machine learning language libraries. So if you guys aren't understanding what a library is, it's just basically, it's a bunch of software that people put together and then they put into a library package. So basic thing, pip install, and then you list the library that you want to install, or you want to run something. That's the Seaborn is a good example. Seaborn is a visualization tool, and you can take a data set and then visualize it. Because SQL, you can't really visualize anything with SQL, right? SQL is just the language for the data. But Python is the framework that you can visualize the data with. You can create dashboards or do deep learning or neural networks. It's amazing. Python is great. So.
How much Python do you say, like, versus SQL are you using on a day-to-day basis do you use Python in your current role?
I do. I'm going to start using it more. And so in my previous role, I literally would build applications on my own for the engineers in Python because I wanted that exposure. And so I built a few applications that they use for vibrational testing on the equipment. And so I would say right now it's predominantly SQL. Probably 75% is SQL. Nice. And honestly, I'm still using some VBA and a little bit of Python. So
nice. A common question I see when students are building up their resumes is, we say to like populate it with some projects that you're working on outside of the school, and there's always like, well, what do I work on? What kind of projects do I start? What's worth my time? And I mean, do you have any insight into that as to where is a good place to start and what kind of projects we should be building?
Yeah, that's always a tough question because companies want solutions that have been implemented and that are solving problems within a company, right?
Mhm.
And so that's why what I loved about Prosper IT was that they actually, even if it was volunteer work, they had projects that were real world projects that you were solving problems for. Like I had to do one for the foster care family network in Oregon when I was there. We worked on the SQL side of that and some of the C#. And it's just, that is a solution that I'm providing to a company. I guess so outside of that, even Excel, like I know Tracy, you said you only know Excel, but if say, you'd be surprised how many people struggle with Excel. I mean, so many people struggle, even just Excel, it's basic stuff, right? And if you can just find a coworker, a friend, a colleague, and say, hey, I can put that together for you real quick in a nice little Excel sheet. It'll save you some time. I started doing that for my aunt. She had her own company. I did it in Google Sheets, right? It's equivalent of Excel. And I just said, here, use this. And it saved her so much time. And so I could put that on my resume. I helped this company. She had a company. I helped this company, designing reporting for this company. And it's being currently implemented, right? That's simple. It really wouldn't be hard for y'all. And it's just, that helps. And the company's like, okay, this person is delivering value. They're finding solutions. They're not just taking courses. That's really what companies are looking for. At least our company. So
That's great. That's a common. I've heard that that answer before from say recruiters. They want to see that you're building something towards a solution. You're trying to solve some sort of problem, whether that be something that the business might have a problem with, or just general sort of solution or something else.
Sure. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions from the attendees? I had one more question, kind of about the interview process. You said you interviewed with a ton of places before you landed your first gig. What kind of advice could you give somebody that's going into an interview to help them succeed on earlier interviews? Or what do you wish you would have known when you gone into these interviews before, especially in the early process?
I think the number one thing that stood out to me of why I was able to land the jobs was my demeanor. It really wasn't what I knew. It was my demeanor when I went into the interview. If I was calm and if I could somehow connect with the interviewer, that was it. Just if you can kind of go in with this mindset of, hey, it's going to be okay. Even if they say no, hey, I got a shot at least. And just kind of have, if you can, I know it's hard. It's just it's a cliche thing, but say, oh, I'm just going to have fun, and see where the cards fall. And honestly, that's how I landed both of my roles. Is I was able to just be relaxed in those interviews, and that was it. And so all the other, I was always kind of nervous, or make sure do I have all the information and my resume correct? Don't even think about that. Just try to connect with the person. Number one goal, you'll do well.
Yeah, in the end, they're working with you. They want to know that you're somebody that's enjoyable to work with, that you're relaxed, you have something in common with them. Maybe was that like something that you found? Did you find something in common between you and the interviewer that you were able to kind of casually chat about, or was that ever in play?
When I interviewed, or when I was being interviewed?
Sorry. I guess both sides. If you're interviewing or you're, is it like a plus to try to connect with them on a personal level and not just a professional level?
Yes. Yeah. And I know they've got some good articles on finding that balance of not going too far to where you're taking it off the focus of the interview. The other thing is, this is crazy. Like Thursdays are the best day to interview. I know you guys may already have the stats on this. Thursday in the morning, I've read stuff on this. It's a great day. People aren't as pressured. It's not Friday. They're not checked out. It's not Monday, which they dread. And Wednesday's kind of a rough day. But I think Thursdays and Tuesdays are some good days, especially Thursday. So if you can kind of manipulate the interview, it's like, hey, sorry, that's what I did actually in my current interview. I blocked out my calendar because I'm in the same company, and I said, okay, I'm not available on Monday. I'm not available on Friday. I'm not, and I only left that one time block available. So when when HR scheduled my interview, it was right during the prime time. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And so
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that
don't set the interview for Monday. Don't do that.
Yeah.
yes,
if you have a choice.
Don't. They might even be desperate, like, oh, we have to get you in, and say, oh, just sorry, I got to check up. I got an appointment. If you really want to try to land it, if you can delay it, I definitely recommend delaying that Monday interview.
That's funny.
One point I'd like to add, a good way to connect, it is kind of on a professional level, but a good way to connect with someone that's interviewing you is to make sure you do your research before you go into the interview of the company. So check out their website, check out any information on LinkedIn that will give you information on the company, and then you'll be able to relate just knowing about the company when you go for your interview.
Yes. Yeah, great point. When I landed the data analyst job for my current company, I did research on the job description, and I researched the different software, and I already had a solution going in. I said, okay, here's how I can build a solution for you. And you don't always have to be at that level, but I just threw that out there. And because they didn't know much about software or technology, they're like, oh, this is great. Okay. And I don't think any of the other interviewees had done that. Maybe they hadn't presented some type of solution. And so, yeah, definitely knowing the company helps, knowing about the company, but and knowing how to solve the problem within that job description or that's really helpful. So I know that might be hard to do because you don't know what you don't know, right? But if the more you research it, I think ideas will start popping into your head. If not the first time, maybe the second time. So.
No, that's really good advice. That's really, being prepared as possible is obviously always going to be good advice. Any kind of research you can do, even if you get sort of a general tone of how the company works, you can understand how like professional or how relaxed you can enter the interview based on how, the tone of the company's website or like their, what kind of product they're selling, what their audience, stuff like that. You can learn a lot from just those few points.
Sure. Yeah.
Do we have any other last minute questions here? If not, no worries.
I know another successful thing in interviews too is ask questions about what, where do you see me in this role? Don't ask questions about the company. Don't say, tell me about the company. I hate when people ask me that question. I'm like, well, you should know. Like, why are you asking me this? I'm not here to tell you about the company. But if you ask them like, hey, how do you see me in this role, or kind of what's the day-to-day activities in the company, that kind of stuff helps too, because they know you've thought it through of seeing yourself in that position and how you could help. And so, yeah,
that's really good advice. That's great. All right. Well, before we jump off here, Kent, do you have any last minute advice you want to give? Any closing statement or anything you'd like to finish up with?
No, I think I've said enough. And if I can help in any way, I can send you those job descriptions too.
That would be fantastic. Yeah.
And I wish you all well. Hang in there. If you're not getting that first job, it'll work out in the end. Just again, keep focusing on why you're doing what you're doing, and you'll be able to get through it. So.
Absolutely. Well, we want to say thank you so much, Kent. That was fantastic. We really appreciate it. It's always good to have the insight of a graduate who's landed a job and somebody in a field that we, maybe we don't know a lot about. So that's everything you said was incredibly helpful. Really, really appreciate your time. And we will see everybody hopefully at next Friday's Tech Talk. So thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
See you, Rick.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
See you, Kent.